My friends, we've decrypted another transmission of the Ether-X, which outlines the next phase of their operation to destroy the United States.
Esteemed colleagues and friends of progress, we stand on the edge of a new era, confronted by challenges unseen by past generations. Our global ecosystem is on the brink of catastrophe. Our communities are torn asunder by unchecked bigotry, and our very existence is threatened by an opposition that remains willfully blind to the realities of the 21st century. We grapple with an opposition mired in their radical ideology. They deny that a woman has sovereignty over her own body. They believe that weapons of war and mass murder should be available to everyone, and they refuse to accept established science by dismissing the climate crisis as a conspiracy. They turn a blind eye to the systemic racism embedded within our institutions, choosing instead to sustain an unjust status quo over striving for true equality. They remain shackled to dogmatic religious views, ensnared within the clutches of patriarchal hegemony, and persistently undermine the rights and dignity of women and the LGBTQIA+ community. This grim reality is untenable. Their fear-driven, regressive ideologies now pose a direct threat to our collective future, a future which should promise progress, inclusivity, and the sustainable stewardship of our shared environment. We have tried to extend the hand of reconciliation, yet our pleas for unity and our attempts at dialogue are rebuffed with a dismissive sneer. We find ourselves trapped in a bitter cycle of abuse with our genuine efforts at progress constantly thwarted. Today, I come before you with a radical yet essential proposal, the solution to our plight and the path towards our liberation. That solution is constitutional disunion. Consider for a moment, what value does unity hold if it stifles progress, subverts justice, and perpetuates cycles of abuse? If unity demands our conformity to regressive norms and systemic oppression, then I say, it is unity we must reconsider. It is unity we must redefine. Our vision is for a unity that celebrates diversity, that nurtures freedom, and that values each individual for who they are. Constitutional disunion does not signal isolation. Rather, it proclaims our resolve to build an equitable society, driven by mutual respect and shared ideals. It provides us with the autonomy to enact bold climate policies, to dismantle structures of systemic racism, to build a society that truly reflects our progressive ethos. The proposed amendment is not a harbinger of doom, but a beacon of hope. It offers a fresh start, a clean slate to build a world unencumbered by the regressive ideologies that have held us back for far too long. An ideology that denies climate change and perpetuates racial and social injustice. It's time to chart our own path, to shape our own destiny, free from the constraints of a union that has lost its way. It's time to let go. We owe it to ourselves, to future generations, and to our planet. The time has come to embrace the dawn of a new era, an era where progress, equality, and environmental stewardship are not mere aspirations, but the foundations of our society. Join me in proudly supporting the Constitutional Disunion Amendment.
Fellow patriots, men and women of conviction, we find ourselves today at a crossroads, battling against an opposition mired in their radical ideology. They are on a mission to systematically dismantle the very tenets upon which our nation was built. They belittle our faith, our steadfast adherence to the Constitution, and our dedication to personal liberty. Their policies threaten the God-given rights to freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the right to bear arms, and the very right to life itself. Their hypocrisy knows no bounds. They claim to oppose racism, while preaching that collective guilt based on the color of a person's skin is a virtue. And yet, ironically, they claim that we are the racists. They paint us as bigots, blaming us for societal inequalities that are far more complex than their simplified rhetoric admits. They claim that it is important to follow the science, and yet they can't tell the difference between a man and a woman. In fact, they proudly support men disenfranchising and abusing women in sports. They say they believe in my body, my choice, except when it's your body they want to inject with experimental vaccines. They claim they support women's rights, except for those little girls ripped from the womb moments before birth and torn to pieces under the Orwellian euphemism of reproductive health. They burn down cities and murder innocent bystanders while calling it a peaceful protest. No one is charged with a crime, but when you protest, it is called an insurrection, and people are sent to jail for years. When an unarmed person on their side is murdered by the police, it is called systemic racism. But when an unarmed woman on our side is murdered by government forces, they call it quelling a rebellion. And most astonishing of all, they have a term for all of this. They call it social justice. Enough is enough. Our nation is under siege. Endless debates, fruitless negotiations, and years of trying to find a middle ground have only widened the divide. The gulf between our worlds is vast, filled with vitriol and mistrust. It seems we no longer share common values or a common vision for the country. The question then is, why persist in this bitter struggle? Why continue to force two diametrically opposed, mutually exclusive ideologies to conform to a single vision of the future? The answer is, we cannot. That course will only lead to a further escalation of tensions and the possibility of civil war. Today, I propose another path, a path which will avert disaster and lead to a peaceful solution. That path is constitutional disunion. Constitutional disunion provides us with the autonomy to govern according to our cherished principles, to cultivate a society rooted in faith, family, and freedom. We will have the opportunity to safeguard the rights bestowed upon us by God and enshrined in our Constitution, to raise our children in a society that respects our values and cherishes our traditions. The proposed amendment is not an omen of disaster, but a beacon of hope. It offers a fresh start, an opportunity to build a society that reflects our deeply held beliefs, free from the constraints of a union that no longer serves us. My friends, it's time to let go. It's time to embrace the dawn of a new era, an era where our beliefs are not just tolerated but celebrated. An era where our freedom, our faith, and our Constitution form the bedrock of our society and secure the blessings of liberty for future generations. Join me in proudly supporting the Constitutional Disunion Amendment. God bless you all.
And there you have it. A bold plan appealing to the fear, mistrust, and disillusionment of the two factions within America. We cannot allow this to go unanswered. We must organize a counter-narrative explaining the benefits of the Union and the far-reaching consequences of its collapse. It may not be perfect, but it is the strongest bulwark in the world against the goals of the Aetherex. My name is Pasha, and I am the heretic angel.